Well, returning now to one of our top stories, developments on the Serbia-Kosovo border. Let's cross live now and talk to Russia's envoy to NATO, Dmitry Rogozin. Mr. Rogozin, many thanks for joining us here on RT. NATO has moved more peacekeepers in to help bring calm on the border, but they've reportedly become involved in what appears to be armed conflict, making the situation worse. How can that be explained?
Generally speaking, we had a very weird conversation here at the Russian NATO Council. It was very emotional. And the impression I get is my NATO colleagues don't realize what the repercussions of their involvement in this conflict might be. Instead of following the UN Security Council resolution and remaining neutral, today they are supporting Albanian authorities in Kosovo. And basically, NATO has blocked the only road of life, so to say, between the Serbs and the rest of Serbia. So today, this civil war that is actually unfolding before our eyes in the northern territories is Western representatives there. They're ignoring information, they're ignoring media reports from independent sources, independent experts, and they're not even investigating the incidents that took place yesterday. According to our sources, information we receive from the northern districts of the territory, there are many people wounded among Kosovo Serbs, and those are gunshot wounds, not just rubber bullets, they're gunshot wounds. So who shot those Serbs? NATO does not respond to those questions. And I just asked for an objective investigation what the so-called NATO peacekeepers are doing in Kosovo, but they just ignored my question. This is a mistake that NATO is making, and this will just start another conflict in the Balkans.
It's certainly a confusing situation on the border with lots of mixed and unverified reports coming out as to what's happening. You say that NATO's been ignoring your questions and your advice. What effect do you think that potentially more troops could have on the fragile situation there, and do you think that more troops are likely?
Well, you know, I suspect that these kind of stone faces is what they give to us and when they talk to the public. But within NATO, the kind of discussions they have between themselves is totally different. They're really afraid of the way the situation may evolve. They realize that the Pristina authorities are actually pulling NATO into their games. And the first thing that happened is this decision that NATO has basically taken already to preserve their full contingent in Kosovo. There, no reductions, as they have announced earlier. Furthermore, they're now bringing in NATO reserves to strengthen their Kosovo force that they already have there. So basically, they're stepping up their military presence in the territory because NATO realizes that they cannot handle the situation this way.
Now, some analysts have suggested that Kosovo could actually be using the alliance's presence in the region to essentially carry out their wishes. What do you make of that?
Well, it's very difficult for us to talk to our NATO colleagues today for a very simple reason, because they're hiding behind formal phrases that mean nothing. And they just say they're working under a UN mandate. Like today, when I asked them, how come NATO forces were involved in transporting Pristina authorities to the northern districts? You know what they told me? They said they just provided transport for the European mission, and the European mission used this transport, those vehicles to transport Pristina authorities. This is just a joke. I think NATO should really be held accountable before the United Nations for the situation in the territory. Now we have the situation where NATO is fully present in the territory, and still the situation is getting more and more dramatic. So I think we should take a principled stand on this issue.
Yes, lots of unanswered questions. Now, you've said in the past that this unstable situation in the region threatens the entire European safety. Why did you say that?
This is because we have had many instances in the past where we realized that European security is undermined by the situation in the Balkans. If we look at the past, you will probably remember that the World War started from a conflict in the Balkans. Today, the Balkans is just a hotspot where they have criminal business, they trade in organs, prostitution, drugs, and all of this is something that Christian authorities are aware about. It's just a gangland, and they're oppressing an ethnic minority, I mean the Serbs. And what may be the outcome of all this? The conflict will spread throughout the Balkans, unfortunately, because the Serbian people cannot tolerate what is happening in Kosovo today. The Serbs there are in a very difficult situation, and eventually this may spread to the rest of the Balkans and to the rest of Europe. This is what we see every time a war starts in the Balkans, and just a few months later this becomes a general European and then a world war. So we cannot allow this to happen. So if NATO is concerned about its reputation, they should stop this immediately, become neutral again, and investigate the crimes that have happened against the civilians in the northern districts of Kosovo.
Okay, Dmitry Rogozin, Russian envoy to NATO, many thanks for talking us through your thoughts on the situation on the Serbia-Kosovo frontier. Many thanks for your thoughts.